Today, we're diving into a fascinating what-if scenario. What if Japan had transitioned to a democracy in 1928? The 1920s were a time of global turmoil. The Great War had just ended, and the world was struggling to rebuild. Japan, like many nations, faced economic hardship and political instability, leading to the rise of militarism and setting the stage for Japan's role in World War II. But what if, instead of turning to militarism, Japan had embraced democracy? Could such a shift have altered the course of the 20th century? Let's rewind the clock to 1928 and find out. Picture this. It's 1928. Emperor Hirohito announces his decision to relinquish the throne, calling for free and fair elections. This declaration sends shockwaves throughout Japan and the world. The idea of an emperor voluntarily giving up absolute power is unheard of. But for many ordinary citizens, Hirohito's announcement is a beacon of hope. They see the chance to have a voice in their own destiny. Japan, against all odds, is becoming a democracy. The excitement is palpable. With a democratically elected government now in place, Japan's relationship with its military undergoes a dramatic transformation. The military, once revered as the protector of the nation, is now subject to civilian oversight. The new government prioritizes diplomacy and economic development over military expansion.
Our calls for expansion are met with skepticism by a public weary of conflict and more interested in economic security.
The government invests in education, infrastructure and social programs instead of military build-up. Japan's foreign policy takes a dramatic turn. The new government seeks to engage with its neighbors as an equal partner. Diplomatic missions are dispatched to China, the Soviet Union and the Western powers, seeking to build bridges and establish trade relations. The impact on the Japanese people is profound. With the threat of war receding, they are free to focus on rebuilding their lives and pursuing their dreams. Artists, writers and musicians flourish in this new atmosphere of freedom and creativity. The economy begins to grow at an impressive rate. Japan, once poised to become an aggressive military power, is charting a new course based on peace, cooperation and democratic values. Japan's decision to embrace democracy triggers a cascade of economic and diplomatic changes. No longer focused on securing resources through military conquest, Japan's new government sees international trade as the key to prosperity. Japan embarks on a period of rapid industrialization and economic expansion, fueled by a commitment to education, innovation and technological advancement. The government invests heavily in research and development, particularly in emerging fields like electronics and automotive manufacturing. Japanese businesses, with government support, forge strong trade relationships with nations around the world.
Initially, we were wary of Japan's new government, but gradually we warmed to the idea of a democratic and economically vibrant Japan as a counterbalance to Soviet influence in the region.
Japan's newfound focus on diplomacy leads to a thawing of relations with China. Recognizing their shared economic interests, the two nations begin to explore areas of cooperation. This diplomatic overture extends to the Soviet Union as well. Trade agreements are signed and cultural exchanges are encouraged, leading to a reduction in tensions.
Japan's transformation has a ripple effect throughout Asia. Inspired by Japan's peaceful rise, other nations in the region begin to question the old order.
The world watches with a mix of fascination and skepticism as Japan defies expectations, emerging as a major player on the global stage. The year is 1941. In a world where Japan transitioned to democracy in 1928, December 7th passes without incident. The skies above Pearl Harbor remain peaceful. There are no plumes of smoke, no sounds of explosions, no cries of war. With the government focused on diplomacy and trade, the idea of launching a surprise attack on a foreign power is unthinkable to the Japanese people. The militaristic ambitions that led to the bombing in our timeline have been replaced with a commitment to peaceful coexistence. The absence of a Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor has profound implications for the course of World War II. The United States, while still providing material support to the Allies, remains reluctant to get directly involved in the conflict in Europe. Without the pressure of fighting a two-front war, the United States focuses its resources and attention on aiding Great Britain and the Soviet Union in their fight against Nazi Germany. The war in Europe may even end sooner, potentially sparing countless lives. The Pacific, instead of becoming a theatre of war, remains relatively peaceful. The islands that would have been battlegrounds, Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, are spared the horrors of conflict. The millions who perished in the Pacific War in our timeline are able to live out their lives. However, the absence of a Pacific War does not mean a world without conflict. The rise of Nazi Germany still poses a significant threat to global peace and stability. The war in Europe rages on, and the outcome remains uncertain. The relationship between the United States and the Soviet Union, while initially one of wartime allies, becomes increasingly strained. With the common enemy of Nazi Germany defeated, the ideological divide between the two superpowers becomes more apparent. The Cold War, while perhaps delayed or taking on a different form, still casts a long shadow over global affairs. In this alternate timeline, the absence of Japanese aggression in World War II sends shockwaves through the global balance of power. The European colonial powers, already weakened by the war in Europe, find themselves less able to maintain their grip on their Asian colonies. Without the disruption of Japanese conquest, the process of decolonization in Asia might be slower and less tumultuous. The empires might cling to their colonies for a few more years, even decades, before the inevitable tide of independence sweeps through the region. The Soviet Union, while emerging from World War II as a victor, finds its influence in Asia diminished. Without Japan as a direct threat, the Soviets have less justification for maintaining a large military presence in the region. This could potentially lessen Cold War tensions in Asia. The Chinese Civil War, which raged throughout the 1940s in our timeline, might also play out differently. Without Japanese intervention, the outcome of the conflict between the Chinese Communist Party and the nationalist government could be altered.
The Cold War, while still a defining feature of this alternate 20th century, takes on a different character. With Japan as a strong and stable democracy in Asia, the United States has a valuable ally in the region.
The world is a very different place than the one we know. The old colonial order is crumbling. New ideologies are battling for supremacy, and the global balance of power is in flux. In the aftermath of World War II, a democratic Japan emerges as a beacon of hope and progress in a rapidly changing world. Having chosen the path of peace and diplomacy, Japan finds itself uniquely positioned to play a leading role in shaping the future of Asia and the world. Japan's economy, bolstered by its early embrace of technological innovation and its commitment to free trade, continues to grow at an impressive pace. It becomes a global leader in industries like automotive manufacturing, electronics and technology, earning a reputation for quality and innovation. But Japan's influence extends far beyond its economic might. Its unwavering commitment to democracy, human rights and the rule of law serves as a powerful example for other nations in the region. Japan actively promotes democratic values and provides support for emerging democracies, contributing to a more stable and prosperous Asia. Japan's pacifist stance, enshrined in its constitution, earns it respect on the world stage. It becomes a vocal advocate for peaceful conflict resolution and international cooperation. Japan's cultural influence also blossoms during this period. Its unique art, literature, music and cuisine gain international acclaim, fostering greater understanding and appreciation for Japanese culture around the world.
The world looks to Japan as a model for peaceful development and international cooperation.
Japan's story serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can emerge and nations can choose a different path, one that leads to peace, prosperity and a brighter future for all. So, what can we learn from this exploration of an alternate history where Japan embraced democracy in 1928? For one, it reminds us that history is not predetermined. The choices we make, both individually and collectively, have the power to shape the course of events in profound ways. Japan's journey highlights the transformative power of democracy, not just within a nation's borders, but also on its role in the world. By choosing the path of peace, embracing democratic values and working together, we can create a brighter future for all.